Okay, guys. So I'm going to talk about something that I wondered for quite a while, and I'm sure you've wondered about too. At least I hope you wonder about too, because if you haven't wondered about it, I'll feel stupid. So the question is, how exactly does armor work in Age of Empires 3? Now, it doesn't work exactly as you may think it does. If you have 30% range resist, that does not necessarily mean you have like 30% more armor than if you just had. It doesn't necessarily mean you just have 30% more like hit points versus that thing. Now, it does mean this sort of in some cases, like this guy. He has 50% range resist. That means he has 800 ranged health. But if we get like higher than that, like 75 over here, he does not have 75% more health when it comes like versus range things. So I'm the calculation that's used is the hit points. So the total hit points divided by 1 minus the decimal like value of the opposite of this number. So you go the hit points divided by that. So let's just take the Mamelut real quick. I'm going to pull up my calculator here. So the opposite of 40% is 60%. So we're going to take the total health, which is 1,450, and divide. It won't pull up my my calculator, so I'm just going to have to tell you. Divided by 0.6. That's what it is. So he doesn't have 40% more health exactly. He has 2,416 or 0.66666 or whatever. So it's more like 2,417 ranged health. So that's how that works. That's the calculation you have to do. And we can take a couple others here. This guy has pretty high range resist, especially for a Cav. So we can just take his health, 2,000 or 200, sorry, divided by 0.55. And he has 363 ranged health. And then we got the Minotaur hammer. This can go up to what, like 0.51, I think. He can go pretty high. The most interesting, I think, will be the artillery cannon here. So we can take the artillery cannon and go 200 divided by 0.25. And he's got 800 ranged health. And you can do this with any unit you're wondering. You can do that calculation. It's just it's fairly simple, but it may not be intuitive. It may not seem like it should work that way. And actually, it works on a curve. Like the higher the resist, the more it helps per percentage. So let's just take let's take the cannon as an example. If the cannon has 200 health, if it had 25% range resist, it would have, it would be 200 divided by 0.75. It would have 267 ranged health. So that's 67 difference. But, and then we can go, and then 400. If it had 50% range resist, it would have 400 health. So we can go 400 minus 267. 267. So that's 133%. That's 133 hit point difference. Whereas 0 to 25% was only a 67 hit point difference. But if we go all the way up to 75%, like the cannon has, as we saw earlier, it's 800 health. So it exponentially gets higher. The graph isn't like this. It's not a straight line as you go up. It's more like this. It's like it takes a major upturn the higher you go. So that's just the simplest explanation I can do with that. I'm not very great at editing stuff. So I'm not going to be able to do any fancy stuff, but the calculation you have to do is just the opposite of this. So the opposite of 40 would be 60. Opposite of 45 would be 55. And then you just go whatever the hit points divided by the decimal value of it. So it'd be 0.55 or whatever, 0.6. then that's just that's the just straightforward. That's how armor works, essentially, or resist, whatever you want to call it. And something cool, the reason this got brought to my attention is the manlet. So while the manlet's hit points, I believe, have gone down in the new update, now with the new How to Shoshone card, they get more ranged resist you can get. So I think it's 0.6. They can get up to 0.65. So let's say this guy has 400 health. 400. He has 800 ranged health. But once you send that card, he'll have, let's go 400 divided by, what, 0.45? Wait, I did that wrong. What's opposite of 65? Yeah, 0.5. Sorry. No, 35. 35, sorry. I'm messing up my math. 400 divided by 0.35. So instead of 800 health with 800 ranged health, if he just has 50% range resist, now he has 1,142. That's a huge difference. That is absolutely massive. But that's just, those are just some good examples, skirmishers. That's why Cassadors have a lot more, they seem to have a lot more health than skirmishers, even though they might have, what's the word? Even though they might, like, have less hit points, that 15% range resist adds so much to it. And so if you ever have a card that adds more armor, it is absolutely worth it, especially if it's in the higher numbers. So if you have like 20% resist, going from 20 to 30 is much less. It's not as much difference as going from like 40 to 50 or 50 to 60, because it exponentially goes up. But it's almost always worth it to get any extra armor you can. So if you ever see that, there's native places that have extra armor. There's cards that add extra armor. Always get those, because they're absolutely worth it.